everyone, I am Ratika Roy Bhattacharya. I am back with a new video on heterotrophic nutrition. In the last video, we discussed about autotrophic nutrition, in which we discussed how the nutrition in plants takes place, and also we discussed about reduction and oxidation process, a short trick about it. So now today let's start with heterotrophic nutrition. It's a type of nutrition in which an organism is totally dependent on others. For example, humans and animals. On the type of organism we are dependent on, the heterotrophic nutrition can be of three types: saprotrophs, parasites, and holozoic. Saprotrophic nutrition is a type of nutrition in which an organism is totally dependent on dead and decaying organisms. For example, fungi. It first of all feeds on dead organisms and then starts decaying them. The parasites are dependent on a host body. They can either live in or on the body of the host. The examples are lice, which are present on head also, and ticks. The last one is holozoic. Holo means whole, means complete, and zoic means animals. So the holozoic nutrition is a type in which an organism feeds on complete organism and either digests it inside the body or outside the body. For example, man or amoeba. After digesting the organism's body, they eliminate the waste from the body. So in this video we will be discussing about man and amoeba. Nutrition in amoeba. I have also made a separate video on nutrition in amoeba. You can also go through the link which is described in the description box and watch the video from there. Here I will be explaining in brief. This is the structure of amoeba, an irregular type of structure it has. Nucleus is present. When it senses a food particle, it stretches the pseudopodia in such a manner that the food gets completely covered with the pseudopodia. This is the food particle and this is the nucleus inside the body. So you can see here that the pseudopodia has been stretched in such a way that the food particle is getting enclosed by it. In the next diagram, I will show you that the food particle enters the amoeba cell here and then it forms a vacuole type of structure inside the body. After this, the food particle gets digested. This food particle gets digested here and the waste is eliminated out of the body through the same process by stretching the pseudopodia. So this was about the nutrition in amoeba. Now we will see nutrition in humans. Nutrition in humans takes place in alimentary canal, which is a long structure. Okay, now there are several steps involved in the nutrition. First of all, ingestion, then digestion, then absorption, after this assimilation, and the last process is egestion. Ingestion, in means inside. So in ingestion process, the food is taken inside the body. In digestion, complex food particles are broken down into simpler substances. In absorption, the small intestine absorbs all the digested nutrients in the body. In assimilation, all the digested food particle which has been absorbed, it is sent to each and every cell of our body. in the last egestion, the undigested food is thrown out of the body through anus. So this was about the overall step by step that takes place in nutrition process. One by one, we will go through all the steps. You can see the flow of food particles. First of all, the food enters the mouth. There, it mixes with the saliva and is sent to the esophagus, that is the food pipe, through peristaltic movement. I would like to show you the peristaltic movement. This type of movement is known as peristaltic movement. I'll also be explaining this, how this is helpful for sending the food particles down the line. After esophagus, the food enters the stomach. From stomach, it enters into the small intestine. From the small intestine to large intestine, and from large intestine, it goes out of the body through anus. Now, in the mouth, we have teeth, tongue, and saliva. The main role is played by all of these. Teeth are helpful for breaking down the complex food into smaller pieces, cutting. The tongue helps in the mixing of food particles with the saliva. So this is mixing. The saliva. Saliva has some enzymes that are known as salivary amylase, which helps in the digestion of starch which is present in our food. So you can say that the digestion starts from mouth only. After mouth, the food enters the esophagus. Now, the food enters the mouth. From there, it enters the esophagus through peristaltic movement, and throughout the esophagus, it shows peristaltic movement. I would like to show what type of structure is formed in this type of movement. For example, the food particle is right now present here. So, in the esophagus, there will be swollen part, or you can say swollen type of structure will be formed when the food is present here. When this food enters the lower part or flows down, the swollen part is made here, and the upper part becomes relaxed. So you can say that wherever the food enters, a swollen type of structure is formed which helps in easy flow of the food particle. So this is about the peristaltic movement. Now, after the esophagus, the food enters into the stomach. So, the stomach is an organ which expands when the food enters it. It produces HCl, pepsin and mucus. We will see the function of all of these one by one. Hydrochloric acid creates an acidic medium or acidic environment. Why it does so? Pepsin, which is a protein digesting enzyme, it works only in the presence of acidic environment. So, in order to be functioned by a pepsin, HCl creates an acidic environment. Now, the function of mucus is to neutralize that acidic environment in normal situation or in normal condition. When the pepsin is not doing any work at that point of time, the HCl may cause acidity. That is why, in order to prevent that acidity, mucus is present, which neutralizes the acidic environment. So the inner lining of the stomach produces all of these products. Now we will move further to small intestine. From the stomach, the food enters the small intestine. This is regulated by a muscle that is known as sphincter muscle. This sphincter muscle helps in regulating the amount of food that is entering small intestine. So it releases the food slowly into the small intestine. Apart from this, small intestine has several other juices which are produced by liver and pancreas. Now, in the inner lining of small intestine, it produces several juices which we will see here. The food that enters small intestine from the stomach is acidic in nature. So, this acidity should be prevented and it should be converted into an alkaline food so that the pancreas can act on it. This process is done by liver. It produces the bile, which first of all converts the acidic food to alkaline one. Also, it has one more function. It converts the fats into emulsified fats. So we know that the food which is present in the small intestine, it contains the fat products. The fat which has large globules, it is converted into emulsified food or emulsified fats. Emulsified fats are the smaller globules on which the pancreatic juices act upon. Okay, now this is about the bile, this is about the liver. Bile juices perform two functions. Acidic food is converted to alkaline one and the fats are converted into emulsified fats. Now the function of pancreas. Pancreas produces the pancreatic juice which contains two enzymes, trypsin and lipase. Now I will change the color of the marker so that it is easily visible. Trypsin is an enzyme which digests the protein. Lipase is an enzyme which digests the fats. Now, as we can see here, the trypsin digests the protein and lipase acts on the fat products, the emulsified fats, and convert them into the simple compounds. The function of small intestine. The inner lining of the small intestine contains several intestinal juices. This is the last organ where complete digestion of fats, carbohydrates and protein takes place. The fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Carbohydrates are converted into simple sugar and protein is converted into amino acids. In the small intestine, the food gets digested completely. Now it is sent to the large intestine where the water molecules, the extra water molecules are absorbed by it. The small intestine has villi in the inner surface of the small intestine. These are also, you can see, they are coiled structure. The name is villi. Wherever you see something is coiled, you should understand why it is coiled in nature, because it helps in absorption of more and more nutrients and also to increase the surface area, because you know, if these villi are present in normal situation without any coil, then they will be occupying more and more space. So to prevent that, they are coiled so that it can occupy less space and increase the surface area. Now these villi are richly supplied with blood vessels which absorbs all the food material from the small intestine and transports it to each and every cell for the production of energy. From the small intestine, the food is sent to large intestine. The food which is sent to large intestine is undigested. In the undigested food also, there might be presence of extra amount of water which is absorbed by the villi of large intestine. After the absorption of water, the undigested solid food is passed through anus in the form of stool. We do have sphincter muscles which regulates the passage of the undigested food to anus. This was all about heterotrophic nutrition. In the next video, we will discuss about respiration. Till then, take care.